The crypto space is bleeding, but what exactly is the reason for this? We'll take a closer look at that in today's video because that's just wild speculation out there. Additionally, there is a new meme coin hype. Should you jump on it now or better stay away from it? I will detail all the information plus another update on the possible 1-year holding period that, according to the SPD, is supposed to be abolished. And there's also a trading setup, so I would say let's dive right in. CEO, after the intro, now new from Traders VIP Trading, your opportunity to copy the signals from 2 professional traders for free. They managed to grow an account from $4,000 to $30,000 within 2 months. The results in the group are also impressive. All you need for this is a deposit of $100 into your bank account. All further information can be found below in the description. Let's start briefly with the heat map. As we can easily see here, everything is blood red, so clearly Bitcoin is correcting, but especially Ethereum XRP BNB, okay, is still holding up relatively well. Solana has also suffered significant losses. Or also Doge. So yes, as I said, we'll take a look at the details now. I have a personal suspicion. I've also pulled out an article for you here. Here they are talking about XRP and Solana. I can tell you, if you look at Ethereum now, this happened after the publication of this document. Yes, wild stuff. Is Trump to blame? I personally believe it's a contributing factor, yes. So, if you take a look here, it's beautifully written. This is again the topic of tariffs, which just won't let us go. We all know what it's about, so why he's doing it. It's that famous fight against the Fed. I also briefly talked about it in yesterday's video. If you haven't seen it yet, feel free to check it out here. In any case, yes, we'll have to wait and see what will happen with tariffs against the EU, against Canada, and so on. And especially the countermeasures, meaning where retaliatory tariffs will be imposed in the respective directions. Yes, as I said, in itself overarching. He has other plans behind it which could fundamentally be positive for crypto in the end, because a Fed rate cut would logically bring more movement. But all in all, these are really intense times right now. At this point, however, first a Fed test again. Thank you also for the clicks yesterday. Yes, I know no one likes taxes, and right now everyone thinks, oh dear, that was it, still close. Over 1,000 views. Maybe there will be one thing or another added. Especially with the holding period, you should definitely take a detailed look at that. I will also provide an update on that today. Also, the number of likes, you can tell that trust in crypto and the enthusiasm to invest is currently dwindling massively. So, as I said, I am really happy if you support my hours of research and my work. And it's completely simple by just leaving a free like. And if you're perhaps asking yourself, yes, Daniel is nice, but what do you actually do? This is about crypto news. Honestly, fact-based, transparent, without hype, plus a daily trading setup so you can also gain some benefits from it. If you're up for it, feel free to leave a free subscription below and activate the bell so you don't miss any important information. And now we'll continue right away because, folks, there's a new hype triggered by ChatGPT. There's a new feature where you can generate images in the Ghibli style. So, and that has, of course, called a new meme coin onto the scene, obviously. Perhaps the return of Solana, who knows? If you look at the chart right now, then probably not. In any case, it's the first of its kind with a very interesting market cap, which it has already been able to build up by now. Right now, it's also up nearly 40%. Shot up within a day. I can only give the tip here. Yes, the chart doesn't look absolutely dangerous because we do have some good ups and downs here, but in the end, folks, it's all just driven by hype. So I can only openly give the tip. Better be careful, especially when such a brand new hype topic suddenly rolls onto the market. So that you don't get burned. Just because everyone is talking about it right now, because something like this can disappear just as quickly. Just as a side note, the founder of the Ghibli Studios might not be too thrilled about this, as he is an opponent of AI. So, let's see how this situation develops. I will continue to follow it, but as I said, I would be very, very cautious with such newly emerged hype topics on the market. Either get involved directly or, and I mean personally right now, the opportunity might already be over. and also all the copycats who are trying to jump in now. However, since I've been asked about it more frequently, and because it fits into this Cosmos meme context, I would like to briefly address the Pepe meme. So basically, I'm always quite cautious with things like this because there's a Pepe coin, period, end of story, all good. However, it must be said, here there's a pre-sale, and it's worth mentioning just by looking at the token holders here, or even just about 3.5, even over $3.5 million, which were collected in a very short time since the start of this pre-sale. That's quite significant because, of course, on one hand, you need the volume that's being collected here, but on the other hand, you might also need a large number of token holders in relation. Otherwise, you simply don't have a community. So a brief note on this as well. Topic of community, 3.3 million followers on X. In my opinion, regarding social media as such, this has been developed quite professionally because the people involved are definitely active. I also pulled up the Twitter score again and took a closer look at it. And what's quite interesting is, for example, among the followers are DC, Alex, Finn, Ashley. So these are very big influences involved, and clearly the whole topic relies on the followers, on hype. Now you need the corresponding community to push such a thing forward. However, if you have such names, and if these people report on it, then it can become very, very exciting. What I was also able to find out here is that it's not just about a meme coin, but there is also supposed to be a game. It's already available on Telegram, as you can see here. I also reached out a bit, used my contacts, and got some internal information because there is talk of an airdrop that is supposed to be worth more than $20 million. So that's quite a statement. Additionally, the App Store and Google Play are also supposed to follow soon, where you can then play this game. And what the plan is around 50 million DI users. So if you are active in the gambling sector and say, yes, I find this exciting, I would definitely be interested in something like this, then feel free to check out the website. I've linked it below. Or also, if you say, hey, listen, Daniel, feel free to take a look. Some projects, so there's always something coming in, and I like to include such things in an update video. I personally believe that this could be interesting for the majority of people here who watch the videos. Could also be interesting. Before we get to the trading setup, just a quick note on the widely discussed question. The SPD's desire to abolish the one-year holding period. And here one can openly ask the question, I have no idea if it could happen so quickly and easily because the Federal Fiscal Court would have to do something accordingly. There is already paragraph 23 of the Income Tax Act. And then the question arises whether something like this can be added without issues, without including foreign currencies or gold under it. So the whole thing is not set in stone yet. Yeah. But on the other hand, one can say that in Austria, for example, it is already like this. So the big question now is whether they will simply follow suit. So I say it quite honestly, I can very well imagine that this will happen and that this holding period will be overturned. Let's see, maybe, or let's hope that I'm wrong, but personally, I can well imagine it. Feel free to write in the comments what your opinion on this is. Now let's, Paula, take a direct look at what's going on with Bitcoin, because the spot ETFs, well, it's a very cautious buying that's happening right now. However, one can say that the numbers are positive still. This has nothing to do with the correction for now. What is likely to play a role here, however, is this. Because if we take another look at the Nasdaq, as I've mentioned several times, so Bitcoin react to the Nasdaq, or rather to the traditional markets. And what we see here, we had a gap, and this gap has now effectively been closed. So we see it as a near perfect landing here. Now it gets interesting because this was, of course, quite something, the downturn, how it will continue today. So we see here, this is basically the major support zone, which we should not fall below again. So clearly, we are out of the downtrend, but still calling it an uptrend isn't quite right either. Therefore, as I said, we should take a look today at what NASDAQ trading market and the like to do. And then we will also know where the direction towards Bitcoin is heading. And with that, we come directly to the trading setup. By the way, if you're looking for a cool exchange, I work with BingX. You probably know it, quite a large exchange. But if you're keen to trade there without KYC, it's relatively easy. Take a look in the description. There's my link, which I negotiated for you. And if you also want to secure a deposit bonus. If you deposit $100, you get $25 credited to your futures account. And if you deposit $500, even $80. Let's start with XRP for a change, because I want to give a little tip. If you're considering buy the dip right now. Right now, zoomed out completely in the 1 month view, we have a big liquidity bar down here. And I can well imagine the way this downturn is currently unfolding, that this zone here will be targeted again. So, personally, I've set a limit order in this area again. This doesn't necessarily mean it will be executed, but the way it looks to me right now, I can well imagine that this zone will be targeted and then perhaps the traders will move upwards. Because if we look into the recent past in the 3-day view, we also have a big chunk lying up here, which is often gladly picked up. Logically, many have gone heavily short here, so it is quite realistic that this zone will be the next to be reached. Yes, it's now split. The weekends have become quite boring. However, on the weekends, only the market makers are active. So therefore, we know what kind of power they have. They can play a bit of ping pong here again. Now let's briefly look at the chart in the 4-hour view. Yes, unfortunately, we had the downtrend here once, you could say sustainably left. Here, right at the point of control, we've tinkered around nicely again. And then it went down again. And right now, we are fully back in this downtrend exactly at this critical level. It's beautiful how it all fits together, considering that it doesn't make any sense what I'm drawing here and so on. We are exactly on point. I had drawn this line a long time ago. You can check it in the old videos if you like. However, the next larger support area, let's expand this, should be here, where hopefully support will come, because otherwise it could really go further down. A quick look at Bitcoin. Yes, here now on the weekly view, so everything is full here. If we take a look at this block, it was probably picked up theoretically down here. We would also have another zone that could be reached relatively soon. On a positive note, it is also worth mentioning here. Above, we also have a block that might be targeted afterwards. Perhaps traders are already being called to action here. Or the price might really be pushed down into this region again. For this, a quick look at the 4-hour view on the chart. So yes, we are completely in a downtrend here. I had to adjust the drawing a bit, but it fits perfectly here. The number of touches and tests upwards here is wild. So we had once here, there once, here once, and here 3 times, but again, rejection downwards. Now it gets interesting. So this zone will probably be the next critical area. There is also corresponding volume there. And yes, as I said, we need to look at what's happening in the traditional market. It's positive to mention that the RSI is relatively low, but that doesn't have to mean much for now, as it can, of course, go further down. Yes, Ethereum has probably been hit the hardest by far. If you look at this here, a lot was really collected there. A lot was liquidated. And now after that, a consolidation phase, but also with a downtrend. The only thing that can be noted positively now is up here. It's really glowing brightly. So I can well imagine that many have gone short here, hoping it will continue further down. But as I said, I would keep an eye on this area here. Everything is, of course, again, dependent on what Bitcoin does. And if we take a quick look at the hourly chart here, okay, that's really intense. So here, the beautiful uptrend that we had built up, consolidation, bam. And we have basically lost all the momentum we had built up a bit more. So therefore, what can I say about it? It's slowly becoming a real tragedy what Ethereum is doing there, and it's not showing any possibility of breaking out upwards in any form. So yeah, folks, if you're waiting for an altcoin season, here's what you need to do first. Something completely different needs to happen. That's it for today. If you like the video, feel free to leave a free like, and of course, feel free to leave a comment. Write down here what your opinion is. And finally, I can give you a tip. I talked about this tax hammer yesterday, what the SPD wants to achieve. Feel free to check out this video for more detailed information than what was included today. But I find it really wild, and I think the risk is quite high that it could happen. Otherwise, we'll see each other tomorrow in the next update. Until then, all the best. Bye.